We are in the right. No matter how you try to frame it and pretend that we killed in Iran tens of thousands of people on the streets and all that fake media propaganda, the reality is the reason why Iran is hated is because we're against ethnic cleansing. We're against ethno-supremacism. Why don't you show the crowds that are 100 times larger in small cities than these crowds? Because you cannot do that. Because in order to remain on air, you have to pursue certain narratives. My country is under airstrikes from your criminal regime, your Epstein regime. My country, the people in my city are being slaughtered by your garbage regime. And you don't know anything about Iran, and you just talk and talk and talk, and you're afraid of me saying a single sentence.
I got nothing but love for Professor Marandi in Iran. He just bitch slapped Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, who, by the way, as I will always remind everyone, does not allow me to go back on his show, blocked me on Twitter. Did I say anything wrong? Did I say anything bad? No, I don't think so. I think I just exposed his lies about the Russia-Ukraine conflict and about Gaza and Lebanon and Iran. But anyways, let's go through this. I'm going to break this up into two clips for all of you. This is Marandi on Piers Morgan. And I say thank God to whoever the editor of this video is, because they so appropriately cut out the segments of Piers Morgan talking, so we just get to watch him getting bitch slapped over and over and over again. But you hear the points that Professor Marandi is making here, and they couldn't be any more true. And I'm very happy that they're being aired out on this broadcast, because one of the things that Professor Marandi mentioned when he had to sit down with Ahmed at Propaganda & Co., I don't know if you guys caught that conversation, but he said that he was conveyed a message by a third party, or maybe it was direct, I don't remember, but Ayatollah Khamenei, before his martyrdom, at one point he expressed his profound praise for Professor Marandi for bitch slapping Zionist television presenters. He mentioned one in particular. Marandi didn't say who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Piers Morgan. But, you know, this is the truth that needs to be heard, and it needs to be heard on the mainstream media. But, of course, no one in the mainstream media will ever allow these voices to be heard. And if they do, they give Professor Marandi like 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Piers Morgan's a little bit better, you know. He does it for the content, not because he believes in it or actually is concerned about it. In fact, this entire conversation, he's just pushing Zionist, BBC propaganda the whole time, right? It's like Piers Morgan acts so proud that he doesn't work at the BBC and he's independent, but he's not independent, right? His brain is in shackles, and he's still, beholden to the investors of this program that he runs. So, anyways, let's take a look and see what he has to say.
The leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, he was martyred because he stayed at home. And he said, I'm not leaving my office and my home because many Iranians have nowhere to go, and so I cannot leave. And he chose to stay, even though everyone knew that he would be a primary target. Unlike your leaders and the Epstein class in your country, which do all sorts of things to ordinary people, he stood with his people, and he stayed with his people. And that's why he's so popular. And unlike the propaganda that we see on your show all the time with these insane pundits who've never been to Iran, who know nothing about Iran, who just repeat these Epstein-class talking points, the Iranian people are steadfast and standing beside and behind the Islamic Republic. And as we speak, across Tehran, under missile fire, you see huge crowds of people in different parts of the city protesting against the United States and calling for the armed forces to resist. And might does not make right. As I learned from school, children know this. We are in the right. No matter how you try to frame it and pretend that we killed in Iran tens of thousands of people on the streets and all that fake media propaganda, the reality is the reason why Iran is hated is because we're against ethnic cleansing. We're against ethno-supremacism. Why don't you show the crowds that are 100 times larger in small cities than these crowds, because you cannot do that. Because in order to remain on air, you have to pursue certain narratives. My country is under airstrikes from your criminal regime, your Epstein regime. My country, the people in my city are being slaughtered by your garbage regime. And you don't know anything about Iran, and you just talk and talk and talk, and you're afraid of me saying a single sentence.
It's a fair question, right? That's the first part of the clip. We'll play the second part in a second. But like, it's a fair question. Why is Piers Morgan, or anyone for that matter, not playing the clips of the millions of people all across Iran who are standing steadfast? I saw a video today of, thousands in a small city in Iran, and smaller city than Tehran, of course. And all of a sudden they're hearing this man speak, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 there's all these missiles flying all around them. And there's a little bit of shock at first amongst the crowd. Some of them weren't even like, some didn't even move. They were just like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden is Haydar, 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 right? The whole crowd just erupts in these chants as the bombs continue to fall. I mean, it's just, could you imagine if something like that were to take place in Israel, if there was like a public event going on and the missiles started to fall? They'd all be breaking their legs, falling over one another as they try to run to the nearest bunker. And that is what's happening. On the first day of the conflict, there was an Israeli settler who actually passed away because he tripped and fell while he was running to the bunker. That's where they live 24/7. They live in their bunkers in Israel. And they claim to be these strong beacons of courage and the Israeli lion, but the truth is they're all hiding in bunkers. Where are the Iranians? They're out in the streets each and every day, each and every night, millions and millions of them as the missiles fall all around them. So I think it's a fair question. Why not play these videos? Why is Piers Morgan still playing videos of the Mossad riots, as Mike Pompeo pointed out them to be, and the Israeli media pointed them out to be, from January 8th and 9th? Like, what are we doing here? What are we, breaking news, Piers Morgan? You're playing clips from 2 months ago now to justify the criminal bombings taking place as millions of people are on the streets protesting for the government. All right, let's take a look at the second part of the clip.
Iran is being bombed by your regime. Our children are being slaughtered. As we speak, your regime is bombing my country. And your regime sent in intelligence, the Israeli Mossad, the CIA, according to the former head of the CIA, according to the Mossad itself, they sent in people to infiltrate. According to Channel 14 of Israeli TV, which is close to Netanyahu, they brought in weapons that killed hundreds of police officers and volunteers on the streets. So the 3,117 people who were killed, and all of them have their ID and information, they're well known. If you have any extra names, give them to me and let's see what your evidence is. All of those people are recognized. And wait a moment. And if there was one police officer killed in your country, what would the reaction be? Some young woman was turning to the right. They shot her in the face. Here they killed 200 police officers and well over 100 volunteers on the streets. And you call that peaceful protest, but you ignore the millions of people on the streets as we speak in Tehran right now. Just one final sentence. For 47 years, you have been, your government, your regime, your media has been saying Iran is unpopular. Iran is about to fall. The regime is collapsing. And it never happened. And do you know what? That is exactly the same thing that your media and your governments would say about Mossadegh. When he was in power, they were saying he's evil, he's criminal, he's corrupt. Go and look at the New York Times, the Washington Post. It's always the same. Your problem is that we are independent and that we do not accept the Epstein class that rapes and murders little kids. We don't accept them murdering our kids. We will not allow your regime to kill our kids and get away with it.
Let me respond. Bro, what are you going to respond by? Well, the problem with the Iranian mullahs is that they will not give the oil to Rockefeller and to the Rothschilds. Excuse me, my good sir. The problem with Iran is that you will not wage a proxy war on Russia and China for us, bro. What are you gonna respond with, bro? You're such a fool. Coping so hard, trying to claim you're not like a total Zionist Mossad agent. Like literally, what is your response? You don't got a response. You want a response? Go to Iran yourself. Go to Yemen yourself. Go to Lebanon yourself, and come back and report to us. Let us know how it goes, right? In this conversation, Professor Marandi did invite Piers Morgan to go to Iran. There's a CNN journalist in Iran right now. Piers Morgan could go. The British government would tell Israel, I'm sure, not to touch Piers Morgan. Why not just go? Why not just see it for yourself? It's because it's that damning. You know, the CNN journalist himself is like shocked at what's going on. As I mentioned, there's fresh groceries, there's fresh coffee, there's, everything is stable. The gas station's operating. There's no lines at the gas stations, right? It's like, what is the big deal here? And of course, correctly, Professor Marandi pointed out that what would happen in your country if a single police officer was shot, let alone 200, as they were in Iran during these Mossad riots. 500-600 banks were burned down. By the way, interest-free credit nonprofit institutions were burned down. What are we doing here, So to Piers Morgan, I just got to say, it's so fantastic watching you get bitch slapped. I wish I could partake in the festivities, but no one does it better than Professor Marandi. And I just find it incredible that he's had this show for years now. He's been on the air for years, and not once do you have him actively pushing back on the lies of the Epstein regime. Not once. You have all of the evidence in the world around him. This guy's on Twitter. He interacts with everyone. He sees what's going on. He lives on Twitter like the Israelis live in their bunkers, yet he still refuses to engage with reality. Okay, so props to Professor Marandi. You absolutely destroyed Piers Morgan. Not that difficult, I guess, right? Especially for Professor Marandi, someone who has an IQ well above room temperature, unlike Piers Morgan. But I hope to see more of this, although I'm sure that Nat Rothschild or someone is going to be calling into Piers Morgan's show and saying, oh, you're not going to be having that guy back on again. Give him the Hinkle treatment. No more Marandi. We'll see. But yes, I think that in time, the Marandis of this world are only going to be proven more and more right. I mean, I just saw a news headline. Trump came out again once more and said, it's going to work like it did in Venezuela. We have a wonderful leader there. She's doing a fantastic job, and it's going to work like that. I don't mind religious leaders. I work with a lot of religious leaders, then they are fantastic. So he thinks he's going to get some like CIA stooge that's going to do his bidding in Iran. Meanwhile, they don't understand that if even a random low-level security personnel was telling their security officials, their security details, that they're going to do some bidding for the CIA, those security detail personnel would probably unalive that official within 24 hours, right? There is no tolerance for this. Of course, it's being done in, the back dealings and very secret operations and whatnot, but publicly, no. Publicly, you'd be put on a stake in Iran. They don't like being vassals of the U.S. Why be a vassal of a country that just murdered 170 schoolgirls? Why be a vassal of a country that is carrying out genocide and ethnic cleansing? Why be a vassal of a country that takes all of its orders from Wall Street rather than what the people actually need? All right. So on that note, we'll be back with more videos later, but I had to share that with all of you. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.